You know, some people enjoy composing their own music, chord by chord, and others are happiest when they come across that one perfect song. Work is not a lot different than that. Whether you prefer building your own workflow or using a pre-made template, with Monday.com, you and the team can work in a way that's comfortable for everyone. Tap the banner to go to Monday.com and build your own amazing workflow, or find an awesome template. No judgment.
Welcome to the RuPaul's Drag Race Recap Show for Season 5, Episode 5, titled Snatch Game. My name is Joe Betance, and I am joined, as always, by one amatory co-host. From the podcast pod is my co-pilot. Please say...
This is what I came here to do.
To Taylor, the Latte Boy. I'm going to tell you something. I know, he's making a face. I was going to do... Look, I already had it all set up, you know, to do, like, because there's so many, people don't know, there are so many quotes from this episode. Yes. We have this.
Yeah, Jay.
We also have this.
Back rolls.
That's the one I was expecting.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't want to give you what you were expecting. I had this.
I'm not joking, bitch.
And we also had
that one. Yeah. One.
Girl, look how orange you fucking look, girl.
There you go. Lots of quotes on this episode. But I'm not going to give Taylor Latte Boy. I always do a left when he thinks I'm going to go right. Anyway, Taylor T. Latte Boy, how are you?
I'm good. We're actually taping this a night earlier because my anniversary is tomorrow.
That's right. It's your anniversary. We are taping this a night earlier than we usually do it because it's your anniversary tomorrow. What do you guys... You know what's so funny? I've never been married. Except to God. And I was a priest for like 11 years. But
that explains liking the younger guy.
I should get Aiden an altar boy uniform. Would that be creepy?
Oh God. Okay.
Would that be creepy?
A touch.
Okay. So then, but he would look really cute in it though, in that like frock. Anyway, defrock him.
And nothing else.
Yeah, nothing else.
Just the little short over frock with you can see just the bottom of his balls hanging out.
I because he hears this, and I get reports. Not reports. I get summaries of what he heard. So I know he's gonna be like, actually, he thinks this stuff is funny. Anyway, the point is, Taylor the Latte Boy, is I always have this fantasy of what anniversaries are like. So walk me through it. What will happen tomorrow on your anniversary?
Tomorrow for our anniversary, we are going to... It's going to be boring. It's our third anniversary. It's our third marriage anniversary. We have a wedding anniversary and a marriage anniversary because our wedding was in April of 17, but we secretly got married in November of 16 because of health insurance benefits and also because we had a new president that was elected that scared the hell out of me.
Yeah.
So tomorrow we both work. We'll go to work, and then we will come home and just kind of freshen up a little bit, and then we will go out to dinner. We have reservations at Ruth's Chris Steakhouse, which is pretty good. And then tomorrow is also November 12th, which Disney Plus starts tomorrow.
Right. It starts actually at midnight tonight.
Yeah, so we've decided that we are going to come home and we are going to watch The Mandalorian.
My brother's excited about The Mandalorian. I'm more excited about like watching Darby O'Gill and the Little People, or like
Computer Wore Tennis Shoes.
Or there was this one that what I'm thinking about is like there was this one that had a book.
I'm not sure.
Okay, thank you. There was one where like what was it with a girl? And she had like kind of a boy's name. It came out in the 80s. I know, I got it. The Journey of Daddy Gan. Like, I want to see.
Okay.
And also, I've never seen like The Black Cauldron. That's a Disney movie.
Yeah.
Right?
Babalu, I think, owns The Black Cauldron, but a lot of the movies, I've seen most of the animated movies, but I know I haven't seen The Black Cauldron, and there are ones that I haven't seen them in years. But I guess now the big controversy is they are editing some of them for content that could be considered racially or culturally insensitive at this point.
It's so
but the
funny,
one that they're not, they're talking about Dumbo, and they're obviously not adding Song of the South on there.
Yeah.
But the one that they don't seem to be talking about that I'm surprised nobody's talked about is the Indian song in Peter Pan. What Makes the Red Man Red?
Yeah.
It's like really bad.
Yeah. Well, also, I guess they're in, I don't know in the cartoon, but in the CGI version of Lady and the Tramp that's coming out, they're not going to have like the whole, what's the matter you? I'm going to smack you in the face. They're not going to have any of that. They're not going to, they're not doing the Siamese cat song in
Which
the CGI
is
version.
the only reason to watch Lady and the Tramp.
Yeah, I know nothing else of that movie. You know what's so fun, and apart from the eating the pasta, but I actually don't even know what happens outside of that moment of that movie. But what I was going to tell you is, Song of the South. Oh, so I think we talked about this in the show. My boyfriend and I went to Disneyland recently, and his favorite ride was Splash Mountain. Okay,
Yeah.
but he's of a certain age, so he has no idea what to him these characters are unique to Splash Mountain.
Yeah.
And I was telling him about, I'll tell you something else interesting that, I don't know if you know this, Taylor, but I'll tell you some interesting Disneyland lore here with Splash Mountain. But, we were talking about it, and I told him about Song of the South and how it's incredibly racist. And he goes, really? I go, yeah, what's about and it doesn't take place in the slave days. It takes place like in the post,
Right.
days.
I've seen it.
Oh, yeah,
I've seen
the antebellum days or whatever. No, but what I told him, maybe you'll agree with me, I go, look, to be honest with you, the most offensive thing is how fucking boring this movie is. It's really boring. It's probably the reason I don't want to, it's, because I told him, he goes, couldn't they release a little cartoons? I go, it's really just like an anthology movie where he introduces like little cartoons. I go, but even the little cartoons are kind of racist.
Well, they use the phrase tar babies a lot in it. Which is a racist term.
I wonder how they would do it. It's tricky because obviously they fucked it up when they made Song of the South, but those cartoons were animated versions of slave stories. I wonder if they could just take those cartoons out and have like a new, like, Tiana introducing them.
I don't think that would be. The one thing I remember is I want to say I torrented it because I wanted to see it. So, and I got I don't even remember where I would have gone to get it, but it was clearly from like a copy of a copy of a copy of a VHS tape.
Yeah.
And there is a scene, we watched it on our TV. So, but it's kind of weird watching it because it feels like you're watching an old VCR tape, but there's a scene that takes place at night where Uncle Remus is sitting by the fire.
Yeah.
And he kind of is sitting for a second while somebody's talking and he's smiling. But because it was this like degraded video version of it, all you could see were the whites of his eyes and his teeth.
Yeah.
And it was where that was the one part that I'm like, I'm so not comfortable watching this right now because it was creepy. I want to say I know that I talked about it on Pod as my co-pilot years ago, and I want to say that a screen capture that I used it as cover art.
Oh, really? Wow.
Yeah, just to talk about how creepy it was that it was this, because it almost made him look where he was, because he was this very lovable, where he loved the men, or he loved the family that he continued, I guess, working for. We'll call it working for.
Yeah.
But it was, you all right?
I just dropped my headphones came off my head. It was a whole thing. Okay, go ahead.
So,
the family he was working for.
He became like where he was this lovable character to where he became almost like evil, like where he almost looked like creepy, like in just the way he was sitting in the. But I feel like it was because it was a copy of a copy of a copy, and it was just not good. So
what's funny is now I've never been on the Splash Mountain at Disney World, right? But peppered throughout the ride, and especially in that right when you come down the big drop and you go through and there's the big riverboat and the birds singing and dancing, is Aiden loves birds. So he was so happy to see all these birds. It has made him so happy, right? Oh, and I want to talk to you about something else, too, that reminded me of something. Basically, this show's becoming Disney Talk with Joe and Taylor for the first 50 minutes. So he's telling me how much he loves the birds, and that's why one of the reasons it was his favorite ride, because he just loves seeing all the animatronic birds, blah, 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 blah. And I go, well, let me tell you a story, little boy. Literally. I
was gonna say, you can literally say that to him. And
no, he's tall.
Right.
So,
whatever you were getting ready to say, it's good that you stopped yourself. Watching the wheel spin.
Yeah. So anyway, do you know? So I said those animatronic figures, and even in Star Tours, one of them. I'll explain. Do you know the story about they repurposed them at Disneyland for Splash Mountain?
No.
Oh yeah. So I'm sure they had it at Epcot too. I don't know what the story is. It seems very Epcot-y show. But there was a show in Tomorrowland at Disneyland called America Sings. Okay.
Okay.
Did you guys have America Sings?
No.
Okay. So America Sings.
Well, it depends on what it is.
Well, it was in the 70s. Okay.
Okay.
And it was a revolving theater. So basically what happened was they had the animatronic, the whole show was in the middle. And to get people in as much as possible, it's actually kind of a brilliant idea. They had several theaters. And then as the show went, they would pack it in with people, start the show. And then as the next scene, the theater would move and then they'd bring in more people and the theater would get out and stuff like that.
Well, it's the Carousel of Progress.
Yeah. That's probably what they turned it into at Tomorrowland, because they didn't have this problem, which is at Disneyland, during America Sings. I guess I was way too young for when this was there. They would have a cast member come out and go like, "Welcome to America Sings, a celebration of blah 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 blah," right? And then she'd start the show, and then she'd go on to the next show. Well, she was running late, so she decided to take a shortcut. I guess what everybody always did to get to the next theater. And the theater started turning, and it crushed her to death. Okay? And they closed it down immediately. For like years, it was closed down. Until they didn't... I don't think it opened again until it was Interventions. Okay?
Okay.
And so they had for years... I mean, I'm talking like probably, 15 years. I don't know how long it was closed for. Those animatronic birds were just there. So they took them and they repurposed them and put them into Splash Mountain. And in fact, again, I don't remember what the Star Tours is at Disney World, but when you were in Star Tours, when on the old version of it, when you used to go into the pods, there was like a Pee-wee Herman voiced a robot who was like, "Hey, I'm just doing this thing right here with this," you know, that was also a repurposed, and they just took the clothing off and just had the robot, you know, and that was a repurposed.
Was it Paul Rubens?
Yeah, Paul Rubens. Didn't you have that at Star Tours?
I didn't know it was Paul Rubens. I know that in the videos where they talk to you about your seatbelt and all that kind of stuff, it's Allison Janney.
Now or no? Because the one that in the Star Tours that we had, it was a black lady with like rolls in her head.
No, it's a CGI character that's a CGI robot that's moving. That talks to you about when you get in, go all the way to the end of your station and make sure your seatbelt.
Oh, we didn't have that.
Oh, we have that in our Star Tours, and it's Allison Janney.
No. I haven't been on the new Star Tours in a long time. But what are the old Star Tours?
It was Allison Janney.
Oh, no. We never had that. We never had that. There was like a robot that would make fun of you as you walked by. I don't think that was Paul Rubens. Paul Rubens was the one that was in the car that would be like, "Huh, is it your first time riding? Mine too." Remember that guy? Okay, that was Paul Rubens.
That guy, I remember that. Now C-3PO is the one that...
Yeah, now C-3PO. Now, here's my question. So after he liked Splash Mountain, I took him into the Tiki Room. Okay?
Oh, well, if he likes birds, that's the place to take him.
It is, but I remembered he's a woke-ass teen, and we still have the original Tiki Room show.
Oh, we have the original Tiki Room show, too.
Oh, I thought it was the one with Gilbert Gottfried.
No, they that one was in for a while, and then they brought back the old one.
Oh, they did.
So all the accents, the German accent, the Irish accent, and
I think it was making fun of like the Spanish speaking one. I don't know. I gotta ask him, but he was like, he wasn't offended. He was like, "How does Disney not get? How are they getting away with it? How are people not complaining?" And I go,
"Trust me, they are." That's why we don't have the redhead anymore. We wants the rum, and the redhead is a female pirate.
Oh yeah.
And they don't chase the women around anymore. The women chase the men around with a broom, and the whole thing is
it's so dumb. You know what we do have that you guys don't have anymore? I don't know why you guys didn't raise a ruckus over in Florida, but they did here, so they always kept it. Was Mr. Toad's Wild Ride?
Girl, I remember when they took out Mr. Toad's Wild Ride. That's where they put Winnie the Pooh.
Oh, Winnie the Pooh is where Bear Country Jamboree. We don't have Bear Country Jamboree anymore.
You don't?
No, they put Winnie the Pooh in there.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, we have a Country Bear Jamboree. A Gay Days Country Bear Jamboree is a huge thing. Apparently at like 11 o'clock, that's when all the bears go into Country Bear Jamboree and watch
in the morning or in the evening?
In the morning.
Oh, really? Yeah, no.
And actually, the last time I was in line for that, who did I see walking past us? Coco Montrese.
Oh. Interesting.
With 18 inches of pancake makeup on.
Oh, my goodness. This week, Jade and Alyssa go at it. Ian Drew tells us who wore it best. The girls get ready for the Snatch game, and Jinx premieres her Little Edie character. Alyssa jokes with Coco about how orange she fucking looks, but Coco's not joking, bitch. On the main stage, Alyssa is ordered to apologize to Katy Perry, and the girls don their best, deadliest snatch. Jinx was named Snatch. The catch of the day is Snapper. Jinx was named the winner of the challenge, while Detox and Lanesha Sparks were placed in the bottom two. After a lip-sync battle for their lives, Detox was told, Shantae, you stay, while Lanesha Sparks was asked to sashay away. Taylor Latte Boy named 2 things you liked about the episode and 1 thing you did not.
Well, I will say that Jinx as Little Edie is, I think, an iconic moment in the series. So that was fun to watch that.
Yeah.
And I have questions for you. A lot of this, we were talking before. I don't have a lot of notes, but I have a lot of talking point questions that I figure will be good conversation starters. I want to say that when we did... You, Evan, and I did our favorite lip syncs from the show of all time.
Yeah.
I want to say Detox as Cher, if she was not in the top 10, was in the top 15. I can't remember if she was one
on your list.
On my list, yes. She was definitely, this is a favorite lip sync of my... Now, the chin thing gets a little old by the end, and when she does it the next time she lip syncs, you can see the problems, but watching it this first time, it was still fun. That is one, Take Me Home is one of my all time favorite Cher songs. So it was fun to watch her. So those are the 2 things I liked. The thing I did not like was this is not a good Snatch game. With the exception of like really Jinx and maybe 1 or 2 other people, none of them are very good. So that's it. What about you?
Well, I want to hop on your. We'll probably get to in the Snatch game thing. I was surprised because this episode is sort of held up as, or this Snatch game is, especially Little Edie, is held up as like, oh my god, it's an iconic Snatch game. But she's all right, Like maybe I wonder what it was like. Maybe we should do a special show where we. Well, and what's so funny is this is airing to the public at large in the summer of 2020, so maybe this is a reality. Everyone listening should know we're recording this in November of 2019. There's a show idea I have that maybe might be a summer show where Lori and I, because Lori is one of the most legendary and iconic sketch and improv comics in the Los Angeles area, as we all know. Has been established.
You couldn't even say that with a straight face.
And so I was like, we should take drag queens, and teach them how to be good at the Snatch game. Prep them for a Snatch game. And the finale of the season will be a Snatch game. So each episode will be one drag queen that we coach on their Snatch game characters. And then the end of the season... That's
a great idea.
There's a Snatch game. So, and, so that might be, you guys might be in the middle of that right now. I don't know. So, anyway, but this is one that's held up. Remember, they even brought Jinx in to coach the other contestants.
That's true. That is very true.
And by the way, it's fine. Don't get me wrong. Little Edie is fine, but, I thought it was going to be this iconic, like, laugh a minute, and it's fine.
So maybe it's just that it rose to the top of a lot of mediocrity, but because it was so much... Well, okay, we can talk a little bit about why maybe it's held in such high regard. There's a moment in it that I think speaks to where you were seeing a star in the making with Jinx.
Yeah.
So what else do you like and not like?
Okay, two things I liked about the episode. I forgot to write these notes down, so I'm taking it off the top of my head. I am a sucker, and we talked about this again, I'm sorry you guys are hearing it late, but on Drag Race UK, you and I just talked about it, but, I'm a sucker for people who get slept on their talents get slept on, and then they prove them wrong. I'm always a sucker for that. So, it's probably why did you know when I first saw Sister Act, I cried during when the nuns sing well in the church?
No.
Yeah, here's an embarrassing story. So okay.
The movie or the play you just saw?
Not the play, the movie. So
I had to ask.
Yeah, it's true. The play I saw that nobody was singing well. So anyway,
that's why you were crying.
Yeah, that's why I was crying. So okay, so I just told you that, right? I cry. I don't really cry in sad movies. I cry in how do I describe it? Hopeful. Moments that would make an audience applaud, like applause moments, I cry.
Yeah.
Okay. That's why I think I cry during when RuPaul comes out. Okay, on the finale. Mm-hmm. Okay. So anyway, I cry for those kinds of things. So that's a very applause-worthy set piece kind of thing in a movie. So I'm probably when that movie comes out, I'm probably just turning 18. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
And so my friend John Paul and I decide we are going to audition, I guess is what you put it, to be one of the tour guides at Universal Studios. Okay? Which at the time was actually kind of a prestigious job to have. I don't know if it is now, but at the time it was. And actually a lot of people got their start in Hollywood being the tour guide. Okay?
Okay.
So John Paul doesn't make the first cut, but I make the next round. Okay? And then the next round they bring you in and then they tell you, we're going to bring you in and then we want you to explain to us your favorite moment in a movie. And of course, which is the worst position, I'm first. Right? And I've just seen Sister Act and I go on there and tell about how I started crying during Sister Act, which is probably now in retrospect iconic. But at the time they were like, what? And I remember there was this good-looking blonde guy who went and did a total act out of an Indiana Jones scene, And I was like, oh, that's what I should have been doing,
Right.
But I just told about how I cried during Sister Act. Anyway, how did we get here?
And that other person was Ryan Reynolds.
Oh, you know what? Maybe. You know what's so funny is there's a comedian who's kind of well known named Joe Coy, and he's one of these people that young kids know because he's on something or other, right? And I have an old comedy tape where I guess I was just recording myself and I was like, oh, I got a big hand for Joe Coy. I'm like, oh, that's weird. He introduced me at some show. Anyway.
Right. So those are two things you liked.
Yeah, those are two things I liked. No, I know what it was with the Sister Act is that people sleeping on someone's talent. Okay.
Yeah.
Second thing that I liked.
Okay, well, whose talent were they sleeping on?
Jinx's.
Oh, okay.
Remember she was going to do little Edie and they show her. But even though, notice that Alaska is very absent during that. I'm sure Alaska got it. So they're just showing the big dummies like Detox and Roxy and Lanisha Sparks. They don't get it, And Alyssa and Coco. And, okay, basically everyone in that cast is dumb except Alaska, and Jinx. And because Ivy even makes fun of her. So, because Alaska...
I have a comment about that later when she says who she's going to be.
Yeah.
That's a talking point for us.
Yeah. So then there's that. And the other thing I liked was... I thought the Julie Browns were fun.
Yeah.
And I thought it was a clever casting choice to have the Julie Browns.
Yeah.
Okay.
Never seen them together before and never seen them together since.
And they don't ever address each other.
They don't. You're right. They never really talk to one another for the whole time.
Yeah. And then the one thing I did not like, the one thing I didn't like. What did you say?
I don't remember. What did I say? What did I say that fast? I like that. The Snatch game wasn't very good.
Oh, I know what it was. I'll say this. I've never been a fan of this Detox chin wiggle. Don't like it. And it's really obnoxious. Okay, you know what? If she would have done it one time in the song, it's already too much in the one song she did.
Yeah, but that's what by the end of it she was doing it. I didn't remember her doing it as much. Maybe I'm just taken away by the song. How much I love the song.
Yeah, and the other thing too is, and then we found out subsequently, is that that's somebody else's that I'm not saying she stole it because maybe she had permission, but like she didn't invent that. So she makes it seem like she's like, I have a unique way of. I'm like, not unique because someone else did it first. Anyway, party. All right, after the double elimination, Roxy has a fire under her ass. Jinx is not shocked to see Roxy in the bottom. Jade throws some shade at Alyssa, and the girls go back and forth in the workroom. Taylor, briefly, there's really not. I mean, the Jade and Alyssa thing sets up for later, but was there anything big here you want to talk about? Any points?
No. Are we going to talk about Untucked?
Yes.
Okay, then I will save my thoughts because I have a talking point, a discussion point that I will save for later on.
Yeah. All right. Very good. The next day, RuPaul entered the workroom to announce this week's mini challenge.
For today's mini challenge, we're ripping a page from Us Weekly to find out who wore it best. And we're going to do it Drag Race style. Now, you'll have just 30 minutes to turn these cuddlers into something red carpet worthy.
Did you know what a cuddler was, by the way?
I don't think that's the actual name for them because aren't they called slankets? Or what's the other one that they're called other than ugly?
I have a name that I wanted to do my own brand of them. So hold on for a second. I want to hear it was the Snuggie.
Snuggie, yes.
Yeah. Let me tell you something. I had this brilliant idea. Do you know have you ever seen a Mexican blanket? The actual technical name is San Marcos blanket.
The one with all the colors, the stripes of colors in it?
No. You're talking. I know what you're talking about. No. There are these like super, super, super thick and like anyone from Southern California knows what we're talking about, but they're super, super thick and they are like really, really, really soft. Okay. Mm-hmm. They used. Look. I think so. Here again, history with Joe. The technical name is San Marcos blanket. Okay. A company called San Marcos. They made these blankets. Okay. And what's funny is they were really popular in Mexico, and then the Korean company started like to rip them off and make cheapy versions, and put San Marcos out of business. So now to get an actual San Marcos, I knew State of Bree in the chat room is right. I knew she would, and she's from Southern California, and to an actual San Marcos blanket is very expensive. Okay. But every Mexican family has at least one in their house. I have two on my bed. Okay.
With the Virgin Mary on them?
Yeah. No, mine has like a lion and the other one has like something like that. So I want to kind of bring back the San Marcos blanket, right? But then I wanted to make my own. No one steal this, by the way. There's a record of this.
Say, why are you talking? You've got like a 6-7 month head start.
Yeah. Not only that, it's on a record that I made this up. Copyright Joe Betance, trademark Joe Betance, all legal rights reserved. All right.
November 2019.
I want to make a Snuggie out of those San Marcos blankets. Okay?
I think that's a great idea.
And I want to call them, get this, Snormidos.
Okay.
Well, dormido means asleep in Spanish. So we're going to call it Snormidos.
Oh, okay.
Don't tell anybody.
I'm white.
Okay. Get Babalu in the room. Get Babalu in the room.
I'm not getting Babalu in the room.
Babalu!
I don't know what state of... Hold on a minute.
Yeah, find out when he's at. Well, you guys... Okay, I'll cut this out in the show. 28.
Hello.
Hey, Babalu, you're on the air.
Hey.
So I was telling Taylor about my brilliant idea that, have you ever seen these Mexican blankets? They're called San Marcos blankets. They're like super thick and they're like really soft. Maybe not. They're more like Southwest, but you have seen them? Okay. I was saying, and the reason I have you here is I said, I want to make Snuggies out of those things, right? But I told him the name and he was like, right? I want to call them let's just imagine like a Latin themed Snuggie. And I said, I want to call them Snormidos. And is that a fake laugh?
No, that's not a fake laugh.
Oh, okay. Thank you. That was it. Cause he was like, oh, no, I don't know what that is. I told him he still was like, I'll get Babalu on here. He'll know what to say. Thank you. And I'm going to give you one for 10% off.
Okay.
All right, thank you, Bubba. We're putting your husband back on.
All right.
the show.
You're welcome. Bye. My husband, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, everyone was really excited.
Yeah.
Okay.
Sorry.
What the fuck just happened there?
I just got a cough. Hold on.
What is going on? Guys, there's a lot going on right now.
Okay, I'm back.
Did you see the video of this little gay kid beating up the other kid?
Yes.
What are your thoughts on that?
My thoughts on that, I have mixed thoughts.
I have mixed thoughts on it too. Okay, go ahead.
On the one hand, good for him. Mm-hmm. On the other hand, I hate this whole culture of I hate kids having cell phones at school and like videotaping everything.
Yeah.
And it just sucks that this kid just from the way he talks and everything, I have a feeling this kid fights his way through life, and that makes me sad for him. Mm-hmm. I also find it funny that everybody was more than willing to watch this gay kid get the shit beat out of him until he started beating the shit, and then they're all like, Jared, calm down.
I've said this. We don't know the teacher was in the room. You know what I'm saying? Like, the teacher might have walked in, heard a commotion.
I didn't even know it sounded like a kid.
No, it's an adult. It's an adult. He's like, hey, what's going on here? And everyone's like coming down on the adult, like, well, why is he barely? Maybe he was sitting there and just let it happen. But I'm saying, but maybe the teacher wasn't in the room.
Yeah.
What's funny is I saw a thing from Vicky Vox, okay, and she was like, she's in the tweet, she's addressing this kid. And she's like, I'm sorry you had to do, I'm sorry you had to do this, I'm sorry you had to do that, I'm sorry you had to do this. And then she's like, I'm sorry that there was no one there to stop it. And I have a weird, once again, everyone apologizing. This story now is officially 8 months old when you hear it. But
yeah,
my whole thing is, I'm kind of glad no one stopped it. Because here's why. Imagine if a teacher would have stopped it, okay? That wouldn't have stopped this little kid from calling him faggot, every day in the hallway. All this would have done was just postpone it. Now, Jordan Steffi just taught this kid a lesson.
Oh, yeah. No, I get that, because you will notice once the kid, the Jordan takes a swing and the kid steps back and then pretty much steps into the ass whooping that he deserves, as far as we know. And doesn't really fight back.
No.
Doesn't really, you kind of think to yourself at that point, he's not going to fight him anymore. I just told a story about when I was a kid. I was in elementary school. I told the story to a client this week. I don't even know how we got talking about it, but this kid Kenny Thistle used to sit behind me on the bus. And he got off at the same bus stop as I did. And he used to torment me all the time. He would torment me in the morning. He would torment me on the bus ride home. He would torment me, all these different things. So, and I had a day where I couldn't take it anymore. I might have been in middle school. Actually, I was in middle school because I was in 6th grade. He was in 7th grade. And I remember out of nowhere, I don't know where it came from, but I managed to, in the course of about 3 seconds, stood up, turned around, and punched him dead in the mouth. And then proceeded to turn back and like sit back down. And immediately, where like everybody on the bus went, Taylor just punched Kenny, And it was one of those where I had this immediate regret, because I knew at some point I was going to have to get off the bus. And he and I got off the bus, and he proceeded to beat the shit out of me when we got off the bus. He tried to bite my ear off.
Oh my God.
Like that, this kid was an animal. That's really the only way to describe it. But I remember after that, he left me alone for the rest of the school year.
Now, what's funny is, because what I was going to say, what's kind of delicious is, like, this kid is very gay acting, right? This kid who's teasing him also has his ass getting kicked all over the internet. So the other part that's sort of disturbing me is when I went to go see the original video on Jordan Steffi's Twitter, is he doesn't have a lot of tweets, and he's sort of relishing in the attention and like all the followers he's getting, and he's like, follow me on Instagram, and I'm like, there's something kind of gross about that.
Well, yeah, but you're also dealing with someone who was not expected. This is a moment that will at least temporarily change his life.
Yeah.
And when a kid's not, that kid's just trying to survive, and now suddenly we're getting hit with, and I'm using this word very loosely, stardom, his 15 seconds of fame. He's, especially when you've got somebody that has gone from, this kid has probably been teased and or beat up or made fun of through a good chunk of his academic career, to suddenly have people and celebrities suddenly piling on positive attention. I think any of us would be possibly seduced by that, even if just temporarily.
Yeah. All right.
Always be my baby. Ready, set, style.
Okay. Detox.
Was that Jordan getting ready to slap the shit out of
Yeah. Detox, Roxy, and Alyssa were named the winners of the challenge, and then RuPaul announced this week's Maxi Challenge.
For this week's main challenge, we're going to play. Wait for it. Snatch game.
In the workroom, the girls were buzzing about asking each other which character they would be playing. When Jinx announces she's portraying Little Edie, some of the girls don't know who she is and wonder if she's making the right choice. Later, Roxy throws shade in Spanish while talking to Lanesha. During the table visits with RuPaul, Ivy doesn't know how she's going to make Marilyn Monroe funny. Alaska learns she has to be funnier than Lady Bunny to pull it off. Coco better do a good Janet because she plays her 6 nights a week. Detox knows Kesha. Jinx relates to Little Edie, and Lanesha confuses RuPaul with her depiction of Michelle Obama. After RuPaul left, Alyssa wonders whether she should still perform as Katy Perry, and Lanesha Sparks is now starting to rethink her Snatch Game character. Taylor, a lot going on here. Give me your thoughts.
Well, okay. I think that, first, this is the first time we get water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
This is the first of many water off a duck's back.
Yeah.
I thought the mini challenge was fun. I thought the mini challenge was silly. I like when they have to do something creative, particularly creative to the art of drag.
Yeah.
You've got ones like this where they have to take a piece of, felt, for lack of a better word, or a piece of fleece and make something out of it, compared to like the stupid ones where they had to decorate a pancake, which didn't make any sense.
That was a hard one.
So I think this one is something that they could actually use out in the real world. I guess my next thought would be the whole thing about where nobody knows who Little Edie is, which surprises me considering the ages of a lot of these queens. Some of these queens are in their 30s and that sort of thing. And I knew what Grey Gardens was. And I think that when you start giving some of that information, like I hadn't seen Grey Gardens up until a couple of years ago, but I was aware of the characters. I was aware of what's going on with that. I guess, this is one of these where a queen is made fun of for doing a character that the younger generations wouldn't know, but then other queens in the afterwards have been praised for that. And 2 of which I wrote down were Alaska as Mae West.
Yeah.
There's a lot of younger kids that wouldn't know who Mae West is. And I would even say Alyssa in All Stars as Joan Crawford, or really as Faye Dunaway as Joan Crawford. A lot of kids and younger generation have no idea who Joan Crawford is, other than that she's the woman with the wire hangers. And even then, I think that if you asked Aiden who Joan Crawford is, do you think he would be able to say who she is without having watched Drag Race?
I don't have my phone. I don't know. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
But what's so funny? I was having a conversation with Afterthought Media personality Jimmy Anti, talking about the Snatch Game idea, right? And he wants to be on it. And I was saying, actually, I go, if you really want to be a hit on Snatch Game, you got to think about making RuPaul laugh. And there's 2 things, and there's a combination. It doesn't have to be this combination, but there's a surefire combination, which is you take an old timey character that she would associate, that she would find very funny, right?
Yeah.
And then have that character say absurd or over the top sexual things. Okay.
Yes, filthy. Just get as filthy as possible.
Get as filthy as possible. or just absurd. And so, like, Ben did Paul Lynn, you know. You're right, Mae West, just crazy ass dirty shit. Like, that's
Why don't
sort
you
of
come on up and fuck me in the ass sometime?
Yeah. The thing, it's hard to do what Alyssa did, 'cause I think what it felt like with Alyssa, which made it so brilliant, is 'cause it's so Alyssa, is because she was so bad in the Snatch game this time, she was freaked out, you know?
Yeah.
And so she has a friend coach her, and the coach is like, just do Joan Crawford and say these lines. And so she's trying to work these lines in, but they make no sense. And you can tell she's just regurgitating something she memorized, but they make no sense. And it's a combination of, you're right, it's Alyssa Edwards, who is a character, doing Faye Dunaway, who is a character, doing Joan Crawford, who is a character. It's like more levels than Inception, right? Yeah. So that's one that's hard to emulate. But, anyway, we'll save this for the show. Snatch. With Joe and Lauren.
But kind of adding on to what you're saying, I wrote down this quote where at one point when Rue is talking to Lanesha, she says, I'm going to stick with Michelle because I look just like Michelle. Mm-hmm. And that pretty much is a death note. Just because you look like somebody does it, as we have seen with different people who have looked like different characters. Yes, you look the part, but if you are not funny, it's all about improv. And it's not... Looks is almost the last thing that you need to focus on when doing Drag Race or doing the Snatch game. It's almost like it's more about those improv skills and trying to get Rue to laugh.
Yeah. No, 100% right. Look, I don't get the impression that Lanesha is the brightest bulb, right?
She did that thing. It's clear she's not.
When she was doing Celia Cruz, she was doing that thing where she rocks her head back and forth.
Yes.
Like she had done as Tyra. But I don't know why in her head that's funny. I'm trying, not even saying like, oh, it's not a funny joke. I'm trying to understand what the joke is of that.
Yeah, I don't get that either, other than you're crazy and just rocking back and forth.
There seems to be a thing with the Latinx drag queens who are legit from Puerto Rico and English is their second language, where when they do Snatch Game, they go like almost like a child, like outrageous, like not in no way, shape, or form based in reality. And I don't understand why.
Maybe it's the intimidation factor where they just feel like they have to be so big and so over the top. But she wasn't going to do that with Michelle, I don't think. With Michelle Obama, I mean.
Yeah, I think you're right. I don't know. But maybe she was. We don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know. We'll be back right after this. During the Snatch Game, Jinx shines as Little Edie, Alaska cracks Rue up as Lady Bunny, and Roxy does an okay job as Tamar Braxton. Detox as Kesha grosses everyone out when she pretends to pee, and Coco's Janet Jackson is offended by Little Edie. Jade is forgettable as Taylor Swift, and Lanesha Sparks is confused and confusing as Celia Cruz. Azúcar! Okay, what are your thoughts on Snatch Game?
I mean, okay, I'm going to say a question that I know the answer to.
Sure.
But I also don't know the answer to. Mm-hmm. Explain to me the cultural significance of Tamar Braxton.
Well, do you even watch the show?
Tamar, do you even watch the show?
Yeah. That's one thing I paused when I was reading it because I was like, I was going to make a comment there, which is, if you remember, one of the people gunning for Jinx is Roxy Andrews, and talking about how no one knows who this character is. But I mean, I know people do know who Tamar Braxton is, but like, I think choosing Tamar Braxton, especially at this moment, is just as obscure as Little Edie. Am I wrong or am I right?
No, I mean, this is kind of really, I think, the first that we see of reality show. Like people being reality show where YouTube celebrities versus old time Hollywood stars or singers, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And it doesn't age well, you know. I mean, some of the even like some of like Kesha and stuff is sort of a little cringy now. But I just kind of feel like I don't get what the importance of that is. I was not a fan necessarily of that. I know that she was on a reality show where it was all of like Toni Braxton's sisters or something like that. I know that she's kind of a singer in her own right, but I remember not necessarily liking it then, and this time, even like 6 years later, I remember just thinking like, why wouldn't you just do Toni Braxton? I don't understand what other, because Toni Braxton is known for being hysterically funny.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of that.
For some reason, people really, I remember people thinking like, oh, Roxy kind of killed it as Tamar Braxton. I was like, oh. But look, it was to me like she was prepared, but like, I didn't think it was particularly funny.
No.
That
name could have been any character.
Yeah.
That performance.
Yeah, it could have been any sassy black girl. She's named it Tamar Braxton.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's actually go down the list of people we don't really talk about. What were your thoughts on J. Jolie as Taylor Swift?
Oh, she was there?
Yeah, it was. They didn't really show much of her. She didn't really do anything funny. What about this Lady Bunny, Laska as Lady Bunny?
I thought she was pretty good. I thought that you can watch, especially from the first couple of episodes where Alaska seemed very deer in the headlights, even though she wanted this so badly. You can see her starting to kind of get her footing at this point, and I feel like this is a good example of that.
All right, very good. We also have Detox as Kesha. Now this is because again, Detox is one of these people in the workroom who's like telling Lanesha, you got to make it funny, you got to just giving advice, blah blah blah. And then what was her plan for Kesha?
Well, apparently she was supposed to be drunk and or stoned, and then eventually pee on the floor in front of the stands.
So I have seen an interview with Kesha where I guess she and Detox do know each other from way back, which is so funny because they said he knew her a little bit, but it made it seem like what's funny is they made it seem on the show, I wonder if they edited it out, that they kind of casually knew each other, where Kesha is like, no, we like basically grew up together. Like they knew each other in high school in the Orlando area.
Okay.
And
I did it. Because it did seem like where she said, oh, so because she goes, well, we've met a couple of times and I've been in a few of her videos. But it wasn't a whole like, oh, I went to school there. And maybe that was an example of underselling. Because maybe where Detox knew at some point that if she said this thing of like, yes, she and I have been lifelong friends since childhood, that was going to add more pressure that if she didn't really do what she said she was going to do, they would make her look that much worse. So
what I was going to say is, like I said, you should be trying to make RuPaul laugh more than anybody, but it seemed like Detox was doing this personally for Kesha. And didn't care about whether she made RuPaul laugh or anybody else. This is supposed to make Kesha laugh. And there's some sort of weird inside Kesha jokes, that they have together that I was just like, I'm not getting it. Coco Montrese is Janet Jackson.
She looked like her.
Yeah.
I mean, there's not a lot there about Janet being funny. I mean, unless you make jokes, which I have a feeling that Coco wants to pay, because she does her 6 nights a week. So I'm sure that is sort of one of those, I want to pay homage to somebody because there's a chance that I might get to meet them one day. If I'm performing as Janet Jackson. So while there are, there is content for fodder there, whether it's plastic surgery or whether it's her brothers or whether it's, anything like the weird little whisper voice.
Yeah.
But she just sort of, she seemed nervous.
Yeah.
She seemed unsure of what to say. And it wasn't, other than the fact that she looked like her.
Yeah.
Even more so when she looked like her dressed like from the If video than the Rhythm Nation video. That was really all that she really kind of brought to the table.
Yeah. All right. Next we have Alyssa Edwards as Katy Perry. Your thoughts there?
Well, speaking of a deer in the headlights, she definitely. I mean, even the whole thing of have you kissed a girl, and then Rue asked her twice, and it just went right over her head. That just kind of says that speaks to not doing her best or not being in the moment. She kind of looked like Cindy Brady in that episode of the Brady Bunch where she's on TV after she walks around saying that she's going to be she's going to be on TV and everybody watch her and how great she's going to be. And then the red light turns on and she blanks when she's on the kids game show. That's sort of what Alyssa looked like.
No, I'm too young for that. Then we have Ivy Winters as Marilyn Monroe. Your thoughts here? This, Julie Brown talks about how, this would be a hard one to do. I actually know she would have gone like Marilyn Monroe as dirty. And like, there was a joke I remember that RuPaul was setting her up for where she said like, she says something. Well, I remember where I thinking that whatever the way Ru worded it, Ivy could have said no.
I can tell you what it is because I can tell you what the joke would have been.
Yeah, go ahead. Because Ru's softballing it. Yeah,
she goes, "You're into politics, aren't you?"
Yes,
and yes, and it's one of these where the obvious jokes is, "Well, I don't know about that, but politics has certainly been in me."
Yes,
that was where I went as far as that would be the joke that you would say, and this is why I think this moment I have this written down is why I think Jinx won the challenge because she picked up on that and she looked for a chance to grab and to put the focus on her in a way that made sense.
Yeah.
Whereas, which is very different from like an example of when Trixie did All Stars as RuPaul and was just kind of throwing things out to try to wedge in there. This was a perfect example of Jinx knowing her content, knowing a good way to get into it and making it funny, which speaks to the genius of Jinx Monsoon. So yes, I wrote that down on there.
Yeah. And then we have Lanesha Sparks as Celia Cruz. Your thoughts there, Taylor?
It was just, I mean, she looks like she didn't really even have makeup on. I think she just figured with the glasses and the wig and kind of holding a microphone close to her mouth, that would be enough. But it was, my husband was cringing. He's a huge Celia Cruz fan.
Oh, he is.
He's Cuban, and they all grew up listening to Celia Cruz, and he just kept shaking his head like, this is really not good. I'm like, nope.
No, it's bad, horrible. And then finally, Tamar Braxton. Your thoughts?
We covered that.
We covered that already. All right, that's very good. All right, it's Elimination Day, and the girls are getting ready for the runway. Jade and Alyssa have it out in the workroom, and we see Alyssa's back rolls. Jinx cries because the other girls come down on her for being a comedy queen, and Alyssa and Coco fight, I think, and swap some iconic lines, though it's unclear whether it was serious or in fun. This gets addressed in Untucked.
Yes.
But I still don't know if I know the answer necessarily because
I don't think they know the answer.
Yeah, because it did strangely go from like kidding around to all of a sudden Coco's pissed, but then it's only she's pissed for that 1 second when she says, "I'm not joking, bitch," and then it almost goes back to this weird jovial thing. It's really odd.
Oh, I don't know about jovial. I think the comment of the only reason I did it is because you couldn't hold up to your responsibilities. I have a feeling that was stinging. That was meant to be a scorpion sting.
Yeah. All right.
The moment I really kind of want to talk about is Jinx sort of have a feeling like she has to defend herself about the comedy queen thing. Yeah. And I feel like this is the moment that people started to fall in love with Jinx. And I think people started rooting for Jinx. We talked about the fact that Jinx kind of speaks to the kooky kids and the outcasts and the kids that don't feel like they belong. And I think some of the things that she was saying were speaking to various people with various levels of feeling the same way. And it seems like the moment, where you see sometimes these scenes are manufactured, when she was trying to hold back crying through all of it, that felt genuine to me. That felt very real. And that felt like where she is, this isn't the first. She didn't come in here thinking she was going to be amazing, and then she already was kind of second guessing herself. And when she makes the statement of, "I've had to do this my entire career, or I've had to defend myself, and just because I'm not the glamorous queen, I have to prove that what I'm doing is art." And I would say that they definitely, like you were talking about, sleeping on talent. I mean, Jinx is one of the funniest. She is one of the quickest witted queens of all of the winners, let alone of all of the queens that are out there. When you see her in other things, even this cool mom thing that she does, there are things that she says that are very, very funny on that.
What's funny is during this segment when Alyssa is in confessional talking about why Jinx can't be America's next drag superstar, she says something that's very interesting. I wonder if you wrote it down, because you're Mr. Write Things Down, where she says America's next drag superstar is not going to get up there and do a comedy show. And I'm wondering.
I remember that, but I didn't write it down.
Yeah, if that's what a weird prediction that the next season and widely considered the most popular winner of RuPaul's Drag Race is a stand-up comedian.
Yeah.
So people always think Alyssa is. I actually think this episode showed, in many ways, the weaknesses of Alyssa Edwards.
Oh, we are definitely going to talk about that when we get to Untucked.
Yeah. And so, so okay, that's the elimination day. All right, Taylor, it is time for the looks.
The looks.
Now, I have descriptions here written by, all right, and so we have the descriptions here. Here we go. All right, first up, we have Rue in a stunning black and purple fully fringed gown. It's quite a technical feat, Taylor, to apply to fringe to get these engineered geometric patterns. The lines highlight her shape and keep her from being blocky with all the layers of fringe. Oddly, it's paired with a chunky neon green necklace, two-tone wig, and a headband to play up the late 80s feel. Now, this is the first one they ever wrote, Taylor. They've told me now. They're no longer going to put commentary in, but this was the first one they ever did.
Okay.
They didn't like the commentary. So I'm going to pretend the commentary is my own, though, because it makes me sound smart.
Okay, there you go. You,
so
you do what you got to do.
What I love is that it makes me think I have an opinion. And I'm being honest, just like we did last time on another show.
This was not my favorite look of hers. I did like the big chunky dark lights, I guess you'd call it, instead of highlights with the black streaks in her hair. I did enjoy that. But I feel like she's looked better this season and other seasons.
All right, very good. Next up, we have Ivy Winters. She's wearing a clever metallic orange gown. The mermaid silhouette has a fun dorsal fit at the hip and sequin fish eye. So the whole gown is a goldfish. She paired it with a thirsty blonde wavy wig. I wrote all that myself, Taylor. That's my real opinion.
That is your real opinion, and it's so well thought out.
Thank you, Taylor. What were your thoughts on Ivy Winters?
I love the color orange. Orange is one of my favorite colors, and I like the idea of this. I was not a fan of the eye. I get what she was trying to do between that and the fin, but the eye just kind of looked like a cheap applique that was put on there. So it was not my favorite look. I have two looks that I absolutely love and two looks that I absolutely did not like, but not my favorite.
All right, very good. You know what? Let's do that. What were the two looks? Name the person of the two looks you really loved. The people.
Detox. I love Detox look, the big jellyfish type look.
No, it's so funny because Detox, I remember she was stomping down the runway in a chic, voluminous two-tier bubble dress and iridescent seafoam and teal. She is serving legs. Her glossy platinum mermaid wig and cascading seashell necklace hint that she is high-fashion jellyfish. What were you? That was my opinion. Taylor, what was your opinion on Jinx Monsoon?
I loved the silhouette of this. I thought it was something that was very different. She has the legs to pull that off. So it didn't look like where she was, it didn't look like maternity wear. It didn't look, I don't quite get why Michelle was so against it. It was something, it felt like art. It didn't feel, it felt like fashion. It didn't just feel like a gown. And that's what I really, really liked about it.
And who was the other person that you really liked?
The other person I really liked was Roxy. I loved Roxy's denim and sequin look.
Wait, no, let me try to remember this one. Oh, that's right. She rocked the one runway in a studded denim blazer that was tailored to her like a second skin over a studded and stone bodysuit and fence net hose. The jacket, I remember, had a back slit that showed her ass. Her wig, wasn't it a frosted blonde architectural wonder?
I believe it was.
Tell me about why you liked it.
I love the fact that it's so form-fitting. As much as the problems I have as Roxy, I think Roxy is cute as a boy, particularly and I think she's beautiful as a woman, especially a juicy woman, a thick woman. I love that it looks very polished. Even though it's got that denim, which denim to me doesn't usually read really well, there's something about it looks great. I fucking love her hair with this. I love the whole look. I think it's just the look is very unified to me, and it's my favorite look of the night. Between her and Detox, I like that one of the two more.
Okay, now let me ask you this question. What were the two that you didn't like?
My two least favorite were Jade Jolie. Do you remember what Jade was wearing?
Oh, God. It was a hot mess. She's layered chain body jewelry. I don't know how to talk anymore. And harness garters over a black leotard. And luckily, she has fur boots the same color as her two-tone wig.
Yeah.
It's not a good wig.
It speaks again to that whole you take off one thing before you leave the house, and she pretty much dropped a jewelry box on her head. It was just not. It looked messy. The wig, it was very shake and go. It looked very Halloween store to me. And her makeup was too severe as far as the mascara was too dark, whereas the lipstick, I'm looking at it right now, is way too light. There wasn't really anything that unified it.
Okay. And then what was one more of the look that you didn't like?
I did not like Alaska's look.
Oh, interesting.
Are you trying to compile your thoughts to come up with
I'm just trying to get my thoughts together. Look, she pulled together a quirky mermaid look with a deep green mermaid skirt and a baby pink bustier. The wig, a stargazer lily, and Grandpa's trout accessories are right on brand for Alaska as she wiggled down the runway. Yeah,
it felt very... it felt like a precursor to Kelly Mantle next season.
Yeah.
Where it looked like she was trying to do a Little Mermaid type thing. And it just felt very boring to me. It was super, super boring. I didn't like the pink, the light pink up against the dark green. And her makeup is very, very just base makeup for her. That's not what I'm used to seeing when I see her.
All right, very good. Well, anyway, that is
the looks.
All right, on the main stage, Alyssa has immunity, so she's backstage as safe. But RuPaul tells her that she owes Katy Perry an apology. Coco Montrese and Jay Jolie are also safe and follow Alyssa backstage. During the judges' critiques, Ivy Winters, Lanesha Sparks, and Detox are clearly in the bottom, while Roxy Andrews, Alaska, and Jinx Monsoon are clearly in the top. After the judges deliberated, Jinx is named the winner of the challenge, while Detox and Lanesha Sparks are forced to go head-to-head in a lip-sync battle for their lives. The song. You know what the song was, Taylor?
I believe it was Take Me Home by Cher.
It sure was, and Lanesha Sparks poured her heart and soul into it, but she was no match for Detox's chin wiggle. After all was said and done, Detox was told, Shantae, you stay, while Lanesha was asked to sashay away. Now, Taylor Latte Boy, any final thoughts on the episode? You can include anything in Untucked.
Well, okay, so the first thing that comes to mind is the whole idea that Alyssa had to tweet to Katy Perry an apology.
Yeah.
My first thought when she said that was, fuck off.
Yeah.
And is that also something where she had to wait until the night the episode aired to issue the apology?
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't get that. You're right. Yeah, uh-huh.
That might be worth one of the Nancy Drews looking up and seeing if if she ever actually did it, 2, when she did it, 3, if there was ever a response from the Perry camp.
So if you go on the wiki for RuPaul's Drag Race, you can find out what date it originally aired. But then going back all the way on Twitter to that date, I don't think Twitter lets you go to a specific date, does it?
I don't know.
Well, we'll find out. But, the point, though, is, it's just, she's done it already a couple times in this season where Willem, the season before, has coined the term RuPaulogize, and RuPaul is like, bitch, consider it stolen, and steal it she did, because they've dropped it multiple times this season already.
Yeah.
Okay, so, any other thoughts on, right now we're still in the episode before we go to Untucked.
Oh, yeah, no, I have definite thoughts.
Oh, yeah, go ahead.
Okay, so I have the whole thing with Jinx and you're not glamorous enough. It kind of speaks to the comedy. It speaks to the comedy thing earlier. And it's kind of that where, I love and hate Michelle Visage all at the same time. And I think that this is where Michelle keeps doing you don't fit into what I consider the box that I consider drag to be. So I am just going to keep yelling at you until you do what I want you to do.
Yeah.
There's one thing of where, look, your contouring is off. There's another thing of saying that you are not a drag queen because you're not glamming it up. which is what I took from it. And I just really did not like that. Do you have any thoughts on that?
You know what's so funny, as everyone knows, I'm recapping season 7 concurrently with this season.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I don't know what the fuck happened in season 7, but she is so awful in season 7 that I just, not that this is a joy to see Michelle in season 5, but I think it's still so fresh to me how awful she is to the girls on season 7. But I agree with you. It's something I've been thinking about for a while, because it even still comes up to this day, even though it seems to happen around when DragCon starts to happen, and she starts to work with the girls more, and she starts to meet the fans, where she's taking on this more maternal role. But up until then, she's a real fucking bitch. And it's just like, and it's the way, it's like, you have to do drag the way I think you should do drag. But it's also been a problem on Drag Race UK, where it's just like, it's so funny. I know you said you listened to our Hollow Eve interview, and one of the things that Hollow Eve said, Hollow Eve, by the way, is a contestant on Dragula season 3. If you want to hear that interview, go to hellouglies.com. And is Hollow Eve makes this really good point, which is RuPaul's Drag Race has become a competition about how well you do RuPaul's Drag Race. And it's true, and it's making the show feel very dated. Now, we're still seeing right here, it's at peak this season you might consider peak RuPaul's Drag Race.
Right.
But they're starting, I think Michelle's a big part of it, of setting in stone what it is that she and RuPaul consider to be drag. And they're setting that archetype.
I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead.
And I'm wondering if that's why you're starting to see some of that old behavior come up on Drag Race UK, because the UK queens are so different than American queens, and she's trying to kind of fit them in that American box because she's so used to that. Maybe that's why we're seeing a little bit of that. In the chat room right now, I was going to make this point, but Luke Stamen beat me to it.
He's Luke Stamen. He's just fucking just all over the place. What do you want?
He's saying that he feels like Michelle changed after All Stars 2 when Adore quit. And I'm wondering if that's kind of where I was going to say that, and then Luke beat me to it in the chat room. But I want to give him credit, because he wrote it down before I got a chance to say it, that when she really came face to face with one of these girls in a way that it affected her, in a girl that she knew that she'd already worked with, and she knew she'd have to continue working with, that was able to kind of come face to face with cameras on.
Yeah.
We talked at length about that when All Stars 2 came out, but I'm wondering if that was in fact the turning point.
Well, also, even if it was, it could have been also the perception from the fans too,
Yeah.
So that's a very interesting point. Very good point, Taylor. I'm not going to give I'm taking Luke Stamen's credit back.
I have one more thought about the lips, about the episode before we get into Untucked.
Sure.
And that is this.
Yeah.
Do you think that we knew Lanesha was horrible.
Yeah.
But between Ivy and Detox, who was the worst of the two in your mind?
Detox.
Okay.
Because at least Ivy tried to tell jokes. She's just not a funny person.
Okay. All right. Because I'm wondering if, much like we talked about with the infamous Nina Bonina versus Valentina, if she knew, okay, I'm done with Lanesha, so I have to put a strong contestant up against her.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, and she knew there was a chance with Ivy versus Lanesha that she wasn't quite ready to get the last drop of juice out of Ivy. So you okay. But I'm glad that I wasn't alone in thinking.
Yeah, and I think there are a lot of also other factors involved, not just that. But remember last week, Roxy was in the bottom, and or could have been in the bottom too. I think they're trying to stoke the Relaska Talks thing. So, all right. Any other final thoughts on the episode, Taylor the Latte Boy?
Well, do you want to talk about Untucked?
All right. So Untucked happens. I didn't write any notes. I didn't write a script about it. But I will say that, it's basically two parts. It's It consists of the main part that's worth talking about is Coco. Well, no, Coco's just sitting there. It's Alyssa versus Jade Jolie. That's the bulk of the episode. There is a weird part where it's Detox telling Lanesha like that Detox is pissed because she might be in the bottom and Lanesha doesn't even want to be there, but that doesn't really go anywhere. Is there anything else? Let's talk about that other side first. The other girls. Was there anything really there that was worth talking about before we go to Coco?
Detox versus Lanesha? No.
Yeah.
No, if anything, I kind of was looking at the timer going, oh my God, they like haven't gotten to the other girls yet. It's still just based on these three.
Yeah. They were trying to make something out of it, but there really wasn't. Okay, so let's talk about then Alyssa, Jade, and Coco. Go ahead.
Well, okay, Alyssa, it felt like watching it. I have two thoughts.
It's an iconic Untucked.
Well, yes, because of you get Getter Jade, you get back rolls, which I want to talk about a little bit later. But you kind of get where this is really the first time that we really kind of see where Alyssa is always the biggest presence in the room, or at least Alyssa. We talk about the delusion of Alyssa Edwards, and we talk about that Alyssa thinks that when she walks in the room, everybody goes nuts, and everybody thinks that, well, we have a major celebrity because we have Miss United States or whatever it is that
That's exactly
she won.
The title, Miss United States.
Yeah, with the title. So, and I think that she thinks that she is loved and adored by everyone. And she's in a situation in which she is outnumbered by the two people that she has had the most problems with in the series so far. And you can see at points her struggling to keep and I will say this for Coco. Coco calls it every time.
Yeah.
Where anytime it looks like where the two of them can team up and kind of call her on her shit, she changes the narrative and she changes the subject and she changes it to where they get talking about other things. In that regards, Coco is really good at that, but that is a very typical mean girl thing, because she kind of starts off very timid and then I guess doesn't like because, Alyssa starts off kind of timid, and then kind of doesn't like the competitive, because she is so competitive, she maybe doesn't like that feeling. So she decides to start lashing out and she decides to start saying things that aren't necessarily true. And it's very much a shock and awe of some of the things that she's saying. And it's trying to distract. I don't normally like stuff like that, but watching the dynamics of all of them was fascinating. Because, Coco and to some degree Jade were able to call her on her shit. Do you have any thoughts?
No, you're right. It was one thing is, I've seen the episode many times, but when you actually watch it with an analytical eye, you start to pick up. I think that's always not gone over my head. It just went in one ear out the other. So I never really picked up on it. But yeah, when Coco starts to make salient points again, because so everyone should know the conversation starts out with Coco addressing the fight in the workroom earlier, and says and they have sort of a discussion where, whether Alyssa was joking or not joking. Did Alyssa take it too far? Blah, 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 blah. In this argument, in this discussion. And when Coco starts to sort of win the argument with salient points, and you're right, Coco calls it, she then shifts over to Jade and starts attacking Jade. Because she's trying to change the narrative because she's wrong. And it's funny that when I watch it, I'm like, oh, she did do that. It's really weird. And it's funny, Coco calls it in the moment, and Alyssa just sort of stomps over that she just said that and still goes after Jade. And Jade, like a dummy, takes the bait. Yeah.
Well, and that speaks, I think that speaks to the youth of Jade. Jade doesn't know enough to, I shouldn't say, that's not fair for me to say. Jade isn't old enough at this point to necessarily know to grab the bait, to just kind of leave the bait there and go, all right, girl. Sometimes rather than say something, you can make somebody look a bigger fool by not saying anything at all.
Yeah. I think in the beginning, Jade does try and take it back, but Alyssa just won't let up. I think in the beginning of that conversation, I think Jade is like, okay, girl, but you didn't answer what Coco was saying. But Jade and Coco make a really good team in this regard, is because they are not
and you watch Alyssa kind of not panic, but she starts flailing at times.
Well, I think Jade, speaking of the video we saw of the gay kid, Jade, I think, has the confidence she usually wouldn't have because she knows it's only Coco and that Coco has her back. That Coco's going to be Team Jade. And so it's basically, I think you address this, it's them against her. And so like now Alyssa is cornered like Scar at the end of The Lion King, and the hyenas are like, we're hungry, you know? And so I don't know what the line is. And,
so, okay. Now this speaks to the, the infamous back rolls and wear something where your shoulders match those hips and that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. Looking, back rolls is a infamous line in the history of the show. If you ever went like top 10 quotes, back rolls would probably be top 3 or 4, if not the most famous quote from the show. Mm-hmm. That's season 5. Do you think that in a season 12, a young twink could get away with body shaming an older queen like that, and it have the same reception as it did back then?
No, because you would immediately go into,
Don't joke about that.
I think Sasha Velour sort of changed the sort of feel of the show for better or for worse in terms of like, I don't know if you could be mean like that anymore.
Yeah, because when you think about it, the queens now, when they read each other, I mean, there are the occasional, there's like the jokes during the reading challenge, but for the most part, like when they come for each other, I can't think of anything off the top of my head of where, nobody ever went for Darian for being her size, or nobody even like went after Latrice, when arguing with her or anything like that. It just seemed they're seeing something that was very immature, but we also got this iconic line out of it.
What, back rolls, or don't joke about that?
Back rolls.
Oh. She did have back rolls, so funny.
Well, yeah, she did have back rolls, but that's also not necessarily something that I think would be, if somebody commented on that in a current season that way, I think they would be raked over the coals. Especially a younger queen calling somebody out like that.
Don't joke about that.
Not today, Satan. Not today.
Anything else, Taylor, about Untucked?
No, that's pretty much it.
All right. Well, that's going to do it for this week's episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Be sure to join us next week and every week as we continue to discuss, dissect, and deconstruct each episode of RuPaul's Drag Race Season 5. So for that Pat Pig, Taylor the Latte Boy, and...
sashay away until next week.
Thank you for listening to RuPaul's Drag Race Recap. Have something to say? Email us at dragracerecap@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Drag Race Recap. If you want access to more content, support us on Patreon at patreon.com/afterthoughtmedia. You can follow Taylor the Latte Boy on Twitter and Instagram at PIMC Taylor. You can follow Lori Roggenkamp on Instagram at Pickle Myth. Follow Joe Betance on Twitter and Instagram at Joe Betance. Drag Race Recap is an Afterthought Media podcast. This podcast was made possible by the following exclusive tier Patreon supporters: AJ Norris, April Pacheco, Astute Girl, Brad Coley, Bree Weiss, Common Cool, Coco San Pedro, D-Man, Dean Barney UK, Devin McKay, Diana Sklans, Doofus Maximus, Haley Sklans, Humble Pie, J. Thomas Plank, Jeffrey Thunderbear, Jesse Harris, Jesse Lozano, Jimmy Kilbasa, John J.,
Jordan Darling, Katie Whitmire, Lauren Eckert, Luke Stamen, Melissa Payton, Nicholas Alexander Springham, Nikki Baker, Parker Elliott, Pedro SF, Rachel J., Robert NYC, Sandy Ramirez Ruiz, Scott Sorensen, Sir Met Smith, Travis Potter, Yaz Waz, and Eve Adams.